Alright, I'm back with another Destiny video. A few of you may have seen the video I published yesterday, which was up for not very long, and then I took it down, not because I stumbled into some sort of controversy and, just had to take it down to save myself, but because I screwed up my audio. I think I had a loose wire. I probably rushed it out a little bit and didn't fully check if the audio was okay, which it was not, and there was no saving it, so I lost that whole video. But I apologize to you guys because that's annoying to like publish a video and then you're watching it and then it just deletes itself. But this isn't a full redo of that video, but it is the same topic. However, it's based on a couple of updates that happened in the last 24 hours that I found kind of funny. The first is True Vanguard put out a video that called me and Aztecross the prophets of doom of Destiny, and did a video about how he thinks maybe we're being too harsh on it. And then there were some other, Twitter debates and things about it. This is not a clap back at True Vanguard. I consider us internet friends, so it's all in good fun. And he raises some interesting points that I want to address, where there's this idea where I've been kind of saying that the current player count lows are different this time around because of the state of the game in terms of how it fits into the larger context of Bungie right now. And yes, every November there are lows for the year because for whatever reason in the second half of the middle season or whatever, that is usually when it's a downtime. However, as I've noted before, this came after a record high with Lightfall, and now we are at a record low 8 months later. We know Bungie has a 45% revenue miss. We know there is likely a giant final shape delay coming, which will make the next season 6 months probably. And Lord knows if there is a drop to this level right now, after 6 months of next season, I would imagine numbers will go even lower, especially since there will not be a 30th anniversary level update. In terms of like Destiny is doomed, Destiny is dying, those are two different things, but I don't know what the long-term future is. It is hard for me to see Bungie just ceasing development on Destiny anytime soon. At the very least, we're going to get the final shape, we're going to get all those episodes, and then, there's some concern that like maybe Bungie's just done doing expansions, or we're just going to get episodes forever. I don't actually think that. I think the plan is to start a new era of Destiny 2 or a new arc or whatever you want to call it, with a new expansion that's obviously not going to be Destiny 3, but it will be the start of something that serves as at least some kind of a fresh start for player onboarding, etc., etc. It will not be as big as a full release. I don't think they're going to take away all the guns or take away all the zones or things like that, but I believe something like that is coming. The question is whether Destiny revenue can recover and match the amount of spending that Bungie is putting into this. We always circle back to the burn rate, which when Microsoft was looking at reacquiring Bungie, they said that the burn rate of Destiny is very high. The burn rate means it is very, very expensive to run Destiny because they are churning out a large level of content all of the time. And you might say, oh, it's not the right content, they're not doing this right, they're not doing that right. But in terms of the sheer volume of what they're putting out now, like look at everything that came in Season of the Witch. We have like 2 mainline activities that are, it's pretty much a whole new strike by itself with all these variations. We have another like, jump in, jump out, Court of Oryx type activity with altars. We have the Embargo Engine puzzle. We have all the story content. We have all, the reprised raid. We have like so much stuff that came out in one season that compared to even what used to come out, it's way above and beyond like older seasons from a couple years ago. And this is with Bungie not having any additional studio support now. So it costs a ton of money. And the question is not, one thing I've seen a lot is a couple of the like Destiny tracker people, or I was talking about this with Charlemagne, who runs the Discord server with all the stats, is like, well, actually, there's still a lot of people logging into Destiny every day. Like there's 450,000, 500,000 people or unique players a day or something like that. And that's all well and good, but it doesn't matter if Bungie is outspending the players, really. Like if Destiny is losing money because it is costing more to produce this content compared to what players are motivated to spend, that is a problem. And even if players are buying the seasons right now or even the expansions, Bungie really needs that extra monetization of something like Eververse to try to turn a profit. However, what it feels like lately is that with everyone down at Destiny, everyone fading out, even if people are showing up to do this or that, they are spending less. And, with Eververse jamming more and more microtransactions in and raising prices, like people are being actively driven away from it. And so these two things not adding up is why you get a 45% revenue miss. And it wasn't just like sky high expectations. It was like genuinely like this should have been how spending worked, and this is not how spending worked. There's the other thing where Charlemagne brought up, he's like, Steam charts is misleading to use these low player count numbers. If you look back, like this is nowhere near as bad as, the end of Destiny 2 year one was. And it's like, okay, well, but that was before this was a live game. That was just when they were making, these big DLC editions that there was no ongoing content. It was like, farm these 4 Aikilos weapons that have fixed rolls and, run the raid for more shaders and things like that. Like there was no ongoing content there. So like, of course, that is probably the low point of the game, because at that point it was a game that you were not really supposed to play indefinitely, because it was like Destiny 1 where there were these, significant gaps of months between any real content. And really the only thing usually bridging that gap is PvP. Also, Steam Charts does not even start until the game came out on PC, which is after the Curse of Osiris era, so those numbers aren't on there and are not reflected as some sort of low on there. I know, we always had this debate as like Destiny's doomed, blah, 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 but we are in a significantly different situation this time around than we have been before. And what I'm concerned about happening is that I see no viable path to turning this around in any meaningful capacity. In True Vanguard's video, he talks about, well, all Destiny needs is one amazing expansion to show like they still got it and bring players back and like all of this stuff. The problem with that for me is, even if we just assume the final shape is the best expansion they've ever made, a certain number of players are going to play that and be like, okay, that's the end of my time with Destiny, I'm good, and move on, at least for a while. Because the story is not really going to pick up in the traditional sense of like, oh, what happens next? Because we know we are getting these 3 episodes that are disconnected stories, and like they will happen in the aftermath of the Witness and Traveler stuff from the final shape. But they are, distinct entities that are taking place after this era ends and probably before this new real era begins, if they are going to do another expansion. So that is kind of one issue I see, where even if the final shape is good, just the nature of the final shape itself means some fall off. And then what Charlemagne was saying is, okay, well, you're saying that the DLC time where players dropped off, that led to the seasonal model, and that was a big change that got a lot of more people engaged. So now they're going to do another big change, and maybe that can happen again. Except I don't really view going from not live content to live content the same thing as going from seasonal live content to episodic live content. It just seems like a different format for the same type of thing, and it might break up the monotony of the seasons, and it may address some issues like it's weird to jump into the middle of a storyline if you're like 1 or 2 seasons behind. But I don't really view that as a significant transformation of what we have now. I could be wrong. Like when it arrives, maybe it is just wildly different and it is the thing to get everyone hooked again. But it's still Destiny 2. It's still similar things to what we're having now. And in some ways, we already know that Final Shape is not going to be as transformative as some of the past expansions, at least in certain ways. This is always compared to Forsaken or the Taken King, of like, those were the best ones. We already know there is not a new race of enemies coming like the Taken and Scorn were. That's already, set. There's a couple new enemy types. We already know we are not getting a new elemental subclass. We are not getting a bunch of additional additions to the subclasses. We are getting 1 super for 1 light subclass for each of the 3 characters, so 3 total. So this is already at baseline kind of less stuff than the other things I've offered. So it's got to be just like a ton of amazing story content or a ton of strikes and PvP maps added or, whatever. Like, I have my doubts about that. But, like, I think we're already starting a little behind even giving the final shape the benefit of the doubt that maybe it's, at its core good. Like the Witch Queen didn't add a new subclass, didn't really add a new race. Lose and Hive doesn't count, and that is one of the best expansions. So it's certainly possible, but I feel like the odds are a little stacked here. So, I don't think Destiny is just dead within the next year, but I do think there is clearly, very much so, a problem with ongoing revenue for a live game. And if a live game starts consistently losing money instead of making money, you would then end up relying on Sony to float it. And who knows how long Sony wants to do that, instead of saying, hey, let's chop Bungie into little pieces and make them be our little live service elves. Nobody wants to see that, not Bungie, not us. So it's a lot of this is like the road to Marathon. I wrote about Marathon today and how I personally do think it'll be a hit, but that's not a guarantee, certainly. And my concern is that like Destiny they don't just shut off Destiny, but further underperformance of Destiny leads to more layoffs, leads to less content being made because there's less of a budget and less people to make it, and it just kind of spirals. So now I am kind of repeating yesterday's video where I said a lot of this stuff, but so that is my, Prophet of Doom take, where it's kind of a mix between like Destiny's dead tomorrow and this is a more serious issue, I think, than we've ever seen. And just saying it's like, oh, this is just a cycle, this always happens. Like, I don't think that's true this time based on what we know. So anyway, thanks for watching. God, I hope the audio is okay on this. I will promise I will make sure it is before I publish it. And if you are hearing this, I guess it worked. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.